How's it going, everybody? So in this video, I'm just going to be explaining why do I even make these videos? Why do I have a channel on YouTube? And why do I not really care too much about my subscriber count? So I've thought about this a lot, but I think the answer is pretty clear. I think my actions speak for themselves. I think the first thing is that I just really enjoy sharing my information. It's cathartic to me, to be honest. I've compiled so much different information on different topics purely through my own curiosity, because I had a lot of problems that I lived through, including my psychological issues, my deep, philosophical coils, like what is the meaning of life, and, how to overcome existential suffering and things like that. As well as physical health problems, such as irritable bowel syndrome and psoriasis. And, my mind naturally kind of contemplates a lot. It always has reflected on problems that I go through and problems I've observed other people go through. And I notice most other humans, they go through the same problems over and over again and never come out of it a better person. They never solve their issues. They make the same mistakes over and over again and expect a different result. And other humans, I don't know why, they cannot, for some reason, they can't learn from their mistakes. I don't know why. I just noticed that's the norm. And a lot of people have a complete lack of awareness of the problems they make. So, for example, most humans have Dunning-Kruger. They make wrong and inaccurate assumptions about life. They make inaccurate assumptions about relationships, and they have inaccurate assumptions about who they are. Usually insecurities and limiting beliefs, and then they lack effectiveness in the results. So, for example, someone might have extreme trouble making friends and getting along with other people, and maintaining social relationships within their job. And then when other people don't like them or don't like it, or they're not able to, whatever, just like maintain healthy friendships or relationships with people, these people, other humans, usually, will blame the other person, or they'll blame irrelevant things that don't actually matter. Like they'll say, oh, well, other people are shit, or, the world is cruel, or it's the government that is holding me down, or whatever. When the reality is you have some things that are flawed in your personality, and you need to be okay with that, and you need to work through them and improve them and build the skill. Really just build the skill. Most humans don't see life as a skill. They don't see relationship skills as skills, social skills as skills, friendships as skills, being effective at acquiring jobs and keeping jobs as a skill, reading as a skill, whatever, okay? They don't see health as something that they can control. Most people just don't feel in control of their life. They think that life is happening to them. And the reality is they actually have control. They can literally create the kind of health that they want. They can prevent and reverse most diseases. And then on top of that, most of society, so let's say someone does want to improve their health, they go to 100 different medical practitioners or psychologists or therapists that are all taught the same exact things in school, but all of these different professionals with the same level of education and whatnot, give them 100 different answers that oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, don't actually help the problem. And so for me, I make a lot of these videos because I had that problem where I went to all these different health professionals that couldn't help people, that couldn't help me. And then, of course, through trial and error, experimentation, and a lot of research, not only have I acquired hundreds of textbooks in my house, as well as opinion pieces from all the best experts in the world, including vegan experts, Mediterranean diet experts, carnivore experts, you name it. I've watched hours and hours of lectures every single day, and then combine that with my actual experience to find out what actually works and what doesn't. And so combine that with the fact that I understand science on dynamic systems like human organisms is not absolute. and there's a lot of subjective perception that needs to be made in order to make accurate judgments about these things. You cannot just assume that something's been proven when it comes to health science, psychology, nutrition science, exercise science, because we're dynamic living organisms and there's too many confounding variables, and most of the scientific literature that all these textbooks and things are based on are not powerful enough to find a high magnitude of effect to find out what's actually going on. And then, of course, we've got hundreds of thousands of confounding variables to consider in these studies, on top of the extremely low statistical power that these, statistical significance and magnitude of effect that these studies can even show. So I actually understand how to interpret science, and most people do not. Most people assume if there's a study that has a conclusion about something, then that conclusion has proven a fact, or whatever. Most people are just dogmatic and follow their own kind of health gurus. But like for me, the main thing is I'm just sharing my information. I'm literally just sharing the things I've learned, sharing my experiments, and sharing my opinions. And that's what it's all about. I'm sharing my insights, okay? And what I believe is actually going on. And there's a lot of people out there who are, going to leave me literally 900-word essays in the comments about why I'm full of shit and why their opinions have been proven and all this crap, when the reality is that's impossible. Like, no matter how many words you put in your comment, and how many cuss words and whatever you call me and whatnot, the reality is, at the end of the day, we can only make opinions, no matter, educated opinions, hopefully. But at the end of the day, science on living dynamic organisms still needs to be held up to subjectivity. We still got to perceive the evidence and formulate our opinions on what we think is actually going on. So, again, we're all sharing opinions. Even if we have a PhD, even if we have 149 IQ in the second grade, and we're in the 99th percentile of all society for IQ, we still have opinions, and we're still subject to the flaws of the human condition, such as ego and dogma and tribalism and Dunning-Kruger. So, yeah. So I realize now that it's not about proving other people wrong. It's about having civil discussions about things we care about, and really just trying to find out what do we want in life, and then how do we achieve that. And it's like, if something is really helping you, then that's great. If something's working for you, it's possible that there might be some flaws in it still. Like, you might reverse a disease, or you might be able to acquire a relationship, but it might actually be, your method might become problematic at some point, and it might not be as successful and fail-proof as you once thought, right? Like, people can reverse cancer on a vegan diet, but then get diabetes or something, or then just lose way too much mass and have start to break bones because their bone mineral density goes to shit or something, right? Just as an example. Or, like someone could be on a keto or carnivore diet, and one day they just have, their blood glucose goes out of whack or something, right? And so, it's important to always kind of keep an open mind and not to be too dogmatic and grounded in our beliefs. And at the very least, try not to use militant, hostile language towards other people and other people's opinions. And when other people are giving you their opinions, understand, like, hey, this is all subjective at the end of the day. And so, for me to be angry at someone else for their opinion is irrational. That's not a healthy or an effective, or it just doesn't make any sense to be angry at someone else for having a different opinion, okay? Now, when someone has Dunning-Kruger, just meaning they think they figured it out and everything that you say is bullshit because I believe something different, that is something that makes sense to be a little annoyed at, because it's like, well, it's okay to share your opinion and be confident in your opinion and think your opinion is true, as long as you don't assume that you have some kind of higher knowledge that you've accessed that other, it's greater than mine, right? So yeah, right? Like, whatever. All right, so hopefully that made sense. But yeah, and it's okay to think that the things that you've discovered are esoteric, in a sense that most society, haven't thought of it or whatever. But anyway, yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of things that a lot of very high level gurus with PhDs and things are missing because they're dogma, right? For example, all the studies on, exercise performance and glycogen utilization, it's all done on people who've been eating a high carb diet like their entire life. And so their body's adapted to the high carb diet the same way that someone who's been squatting heavy weights all their life. Their body creates metabolic adaptations to squat heavy weights the same way that a high carb human who's been eating a high carb diet their whole life, their entire physiology is adapted to that. But most of these studies on glycogen utilization and low carb diets, they take away the carbs from their diet for like 2 weeks and they notice performance decrements. The same way that if someone was squatting heavy their entire life and then they took heavy weights out of their routine for a couple weeks, you'd notice eventually those adaptations, they can't sustain the same heavy weights anymore because the adaptations go away. So their performance goes down. But anyway, yeah, so hopefully this made sense. I'll talk to you all next time.